My name is Clara. I'm 36 years old and live in a quiet town on the outskirts of Denver, Colorado. I work as an accounting assistant for a medical equipment supplier while managing the household in our small apartment. No kids, no noise, just me and my husband, Marcus. Marcus is the same age as me. He works as a sales team leader at a major real estate firm. He has a polished appearance, a persuasive voice, and always moves through a room in crisp shirts that carry a trace of expensive cologne. To outsiders, I probably seem lucky, but they have no idea how cold it feels inside this house. Today was supposed to be special. June 12th, our wedding anniversary 8 years ago, and Marcus's 36th birthday. I took a half day off from work. I drove over 30 minutes just to find his favorite red wine. I stopped at a specialty butcher shop and stood for 10 minutes choosing the right cut of Wagyu short ribs. I am not a great cook, but I was determined to make this dinner something neither of us would forget. Back home, I strung soft lights around the balcony and pressed an ivory tablecloth flat with my palms. I arranged the silverware in perfect order, the way I'd once seen done in a magazine. The custom cake I'd ordered sat in the fridge, simple, smooth vanilla frosting, with a small message piped across the top. To Marcus. Happy birthday and anniversary. By 7 in the evening, I adjusted my dress, dabbed on a little perfume, and sat down to wait. I believed he would come home. 8 o'clock, I lit the candles. 9 o'clock, I sent a text, I'm waiting. No reply. 9:30, I called, 5 rings, then voicemail. At exactly 10:35 p.m., an email arrived from Marcus. The subject line was blank. The message read, "Sorry, big client emergency. Have to stay at the office. We'll make it up later." No thank you, no happy anniversary, no name at the end. Just those 3 short sentences sent from wherever he actually was. I set the phone face down on the table. The candles had burned themselves out long ago. The cake sat untouched in the fridge, and I stood in the golden glow of the dining room lights, still holding the folded napkin I had pressed and set aside for him. I didn't cry, but something inside my chest shifted quietly out of place, the way a bone moves when it's not yet broken, only displaced. That night I put everything away, boxed up the meat, stored the wine, took down the lights and wiped the table clean. No one enjoyed the dinner. There was no one to celebrate with. I lay down around midnight, still in the wrinkled dress I had chosen for the evening. I tried to sleep, but the image of that short, cold email kept passing through my mind, slow and dull, like a blade that doesn't cut clean. It wasn't the first time Marcus had come home late, not the first time I had waited until my body ached. But this time, something felt different. A quiet, creeping instinct, like a cold draft moving beneath a closed door. The next morning, I got up and went to work like any other day. But all day, there wasn't a single message from my husband. I tried calling once, more ringing, then silence. It was as if I had stopped existing in his world. At noon, growing uneasy in a way I couldn't name, I called Marcus's office. The receptionist paused a moment, just long enough before saying, "Oh, he resigned 3 days ago. He didn't leave any forwarding information." I stood frozen in the hallway of my own office building. The air around me thickened. Memories came flooding back in reverse, cold dinners, unanswered calls, hugs that had slowly, quietly faded into nothing. And then, standing there with the phone still pressed against my ear, I understood. It wasn't about work. It wasn't about a client. He had chosen to vanish. And I, his wife of 8 years, was the last to know. After work, I drove home with both hands tight on the wheel. I unlocked the door to our 3rd-floor apartment, the place that once felt like a refuge, and stepped into a suffocating silence. My eyes went immediately to the shoe rack. The 2nd row, a glaring, empty space where Marcus's favorite brown leather shoes used to stand. I called out his name, no response. I moved to the bedroom. He was there, standing beside an open suitcase, tossing clothes into a duffel bag with the efficiency of someone who had been planning this for a long time. A navy suit, a tie, a pair of brand-new dress shoes, tags still attached, shoes he had never worn to any meeting I knew of. "What are you doing?" My voice was quiet, steadier than I expected. Marcus looked up at me the way a person looks at someone they no longer recognize. "You're back," he said flatly, then continued packing. I stepped closer. "Where are you going?" "Moving." He said it casually, the way someone might mention changing lanes. "I accepted a new job in Albuquerque." He pulled a slim folder from his bag, set it on the table, and opened it without ceremony. The first page was divorce papers. I stood motionless. "Marcus, what is this?" He looked at me with eyes like steel. "You're no longer the wife I need." I gripped the edge of the folder. "What are you talking about? You always said work had to come first. You came home saying you'd already eaten. I cooked anyway. You ignored it. I cleaned. You told me not to touch your desk. And now you're standing here telling me I failed at my duties." "Don't bring up petty things." He snapped the duffel closed. "A real wife doesn't need to be reminded." A bitter sound escaped me, not quite a laugh. "You talk as though I sit around all day. I work. I pay half the rent. I have never once asked you to take care of me, and no one has ever asked if I'm okay." "That's your choice," Marcus said simply. "I've made mine." He lifted the suitcase and moved toward the door. "I've rented a place near the new job. I start next week. Don't get in my way." I stepped into the doorway. That's it. No explanation, no apology after 8 years. "I don't owe you anything," he said, and brushed past me without looking back. The door clicked shut behind him, quiet and final, like the closing of a court record. I sank to the floor, still clutching the divorce papers, my hands trembling not from anger, but from the weight of 8 years compressed into a single moment. 2 days later, a call came from the building management office. "Mrs. Clara, we received a request to transfer the lease. The current leaseholder has asked to terminate the contract." I asked what he had said. The manager told me gently. He had left a note. "I no longer live there. The person staying behind will clear out and move before the end of the month." No discussion, no message to me, not even my name. That night, I went through the drawer of our old desk and found the receipts for all the furniture. Nearly everything, the sofa, the dining table, the refrigerator, was under my name. The only things Marcus had taken were clothes and a few small electronics. He left like a stranger passing through, but it was precisely that coldness that finally woke me up. I looked around the apartment. Everything was still there, except the marriage. The divorce papers sat on the table for 3 days, like a wound that hadn't yet started bleeding. Every time I walked past them, I stopped. I stared. I searched for some explanation hiding between the typed lines. But the longer I looked, the clearer it became. The only explanation was the silence Marcus left when he walked out the door. On Saturday, I got a notification from an old friends group chat, an 18-year high school reunion at a craft brewery in downtown Denver. I had paid the reservation fee a month ago, back when I still imagined arriving with Marcus beside me, the two of us a stable, quiet couple among those still finding their footing. Now it was just me. I almost didn't go, but I looked in the mirror at the tired face staring back, and I saw something still there, a trace of dignity that hadn't yet let go. I got dressed. A simple black dress, wine-colored lipstick, hair pulled back, not to impress anyone, just to remind myself I still existed, that I was still strong enough to walk into a crowded room without flinching. Moonlight Brewery was exactly as loud and warm as I remembered from our teenage years. Laughter, clinking glasses, the hum of old stories returning to life in every corner. I stepped into the noise, feeling out of place, until a familiar voice stopped me. "Hey, Clara." I turned. It was Ethan, the quiet boy who used to play bass in the school band. He had a bit of stubble now, a settled, unhurried look. He handed me a beer and smiled. "Still the last one to show up." We found a small table in the back. Ethan told me simply that he'd been divorced for 3 years and was raising his 6-year-old daughter on his own. No bitterness, no need for sympathy, just quiet truths shared between two people halfway through their lives. When he asked about Marcus, I answered plainly, "We're getting divorced." He gave a small nod and changed the subject. I was quietly grateful for that. That night, driving home through the cool Colorado air, I turned on the radio. An old song came on, the kind that reaches inside you without asking permission. The lyrics moved through me like a tide, pulling up every cold dinner left untouched, every message that went unread, every hug that had slowly become nothing. All those years of telling myself, he's just busy. I need to be more patient. I just need to try harder. But sitting with the bare truth of it, I had been living like a shadow, always making room for someone who kept shrinking mine. Sunday morning, as I was making coffee, the phone rang. The screen read, Marcus. I let it ring twice, then I picked up. I've informed the leasing office we're terminating the contract by the end of the month, he said, his voice flat as a form letter. You should start packing. I stayed calm. You don't think you should have asked whether I had somewhere to go? You're an adult, he replied. Figure it out. I set my mug down slowly and spoke without raising my voice. All right, I'll sign. Marcus went quiet. And don't call again, I said. Don't speak to me as though I'm still the one keeping your house in order. No response. I ended the call. I sat at the table. I looked at the papers. And then, as though closing a chapter that had been rotting from the inside for years, I picked up the pen and signed my name. No tremor in my hand. No tears. Only clarity, the kind that comes when you finally stop pretending something is salvageable. Exactly 1 week after I submitted the divorce through my attorney, Marcus sent me an email just before 10 at night. The subject line was one word: proof. Before I could read a single sentence, a photo filled the screen. A marriage certificate. Groom, Marcus Allen Reed. Bride, Serena Ellis Whitmore. Stamped in deep red at the bottom, Bernalillo County, New Mexico. Date of registration, 1 day after our divorce was finalized. My phone rang before I could process what I'd seen. I answered. Marcus's voice came through the line with a satisfaction he didn't bother to disguise. You saw it, right? I got remarried. Life has never been better. I said nothing. I just listened. Her name is Serena, 36, just like you. A pause, deliberate. But she's warm, grounded, and genuinely beautiful. I kept my silence. She's the only daughter of the family that owns the Whitmore Real Estate Group in Santa Fe. Her parents built us a home near the Southern Hills, and through her family, I've become executive vice president at their firm. So that's why you needed the divorce so quickly, I said, keeping my voice level. Not entirely, he said. I just couldn't stay with a woman who chose her career over her marriage. A quiet laugh escaped me, involuntary almost. And your new wife, she doesn't work, I said. She chose the home, he replied. And we're expecting a baby girl, 3 months along. Each sentence landed like a dull weight, severing what little remained of any thread connecting me to that marriage. But where I expected pain, there was only a hollow stillness. Something quieter than grief, something close to release. After hanging up, I whispered the name, Serena Whitmore. It wasn't unfamiliar. I opened my phone and searched. Her profile appeared almost immediately. A stunning woman, soft blonde waves, sharp blue eyes, a smile that held the room even through a screen. I scrolled. And then I stopped. In the 10th photo, I recognized her. Serena was the girl who sat 3 rows behind me for 3 years of high school. Back then, her name was Serena Ellis. She was slight and kept to herself, prone to sitting near the back of every classroom, rarely speaking. She had blotchy skin from a makeup allergy she couldn't seem to shake, and a slightly crooked tooth the other students called bunny teeth. She always looked at the floor when she walked through the hallways. The woman in Marcus's wedding photo carried no trace of her. I called Lena, my closest friend from those years. Do you remember Serena Ellis? I asked. A pause, then Lena laughed. I not only remember her, I think I still have her senior year photo somewhere. Why are you suddenly asking about her? I told her everything. Marcus, the new marriage, the house, the executive title handed to him like a gift. Lena wasn't surprised. She went to New York after graduation, studied fine arts apparently, came back looking like a completely different person, multiple surgeries, jaw, nose, eyes. People barely recognized her. But those who knew her said she was still the same underneath. Quiet, deliberate, very careful about who she attaches herself to. Lena paused. There was a rumor she got involved with an older married architect in Brooklyn. Then she came back to New Mexico and opened an art gallery. Sounds like she's found a bigger stage now. I had no more questions. I sat in my living room looking at the wedding photo for a long moment, the flowers, the white dress, the bright aligned smile. All of it polished to perfection. All of it constructed. And Marcus, standing beside her, believing he had found something real. 1 week after Marcus's triumphant phone call, a message came from an unknown number. "Clara, are you free? I need to talk, it's serious." I knew immediately who it was. I didn't respond. 15 minutes later, my phone rang. I picked up not because I cared, but because something told me it was worth hearing. "Serena had the baby," Marcus said. His voice was different. The confidence had drained from it completely. "A girl." A pause. "She doesn't look like me. She doesn't look like Serena either." I waited. "I thought maybe she takes after someone on your side of the family. Wait, no. That doesn't make sense." He exhaled sharply. "Clara, when I told you about Serena and you laughed, did you know something? Did you?" I leaned back in my chair. "I just found it interesting," I said, keeping my voice light. "Stop. I did a DNA test. The baby is mine. But I can't understand why she looks the way she does. Please just tell me." A quiet beat of silence. "Do you remember your high school graduation album?" I asked. He went still. "I found it while packing up the apartment," I continued. "It was buried at the bottom of your desk drawer under everything. When I opened it, I didn't recognize the boy on the page. It took me a few minutes to realize it was you, the curly hair, the acne, the crooked smile. I always wondered why in 8 years you never introduced me to anyone from high school. Why you insisted on a small wedding with almost no guests. Why there wasn't a single photo from your teenage years anywhere in our home." "I changed because I was insecure," Marcus said quietly. "No," I replied. "You changed because you wanted to be someone new, but you forgot one thing: genetics can't be altered, and neither could Serena's. You both rebuilt your faces. You both left your pasts behind, but blood has a longer memory than either of you." The silence that followed was heavy. "What about Serena?" I asked. "She cried after the birth, said she was exhausted." He paused. "But Clara, she won't hold the baby. Every time she looks at the child's face, she turns away. Yesterday, her mother had to step in because Serena refused to go near her." Something quiet and heavy rose in my chest. Not for Marcus, not for Serena, only for the child already lying in a crib while the two people responsible for her looked the other way. I lowered my voice. "You once told me I failed as a wife because I wasn't willing to sacrifice. But the person standing in that room rejecting their child is you. Clara, you don't need advice from me," I said. "I only hope you don't let that little girl grow up carrying the weight of your shame. She didn't do anything wrong." I ended the call, then I blocked his number. There was nothing more I needed to hear. Nearly a year passed, and Marcus's presence in my life faded, not because I tried to erase it, but because what I built after him quietly filled every space he had left behind. I moved into a small apartment in Boulder, a 10-minute walk from the office. The balcony overlooked green hills that caught the late afternoon light. I started growing herbs in clay pots along the railing. Mornings stopped feeling like something to brace against. I kept my job but reduced my hours. I chose balance over burnout. I enrolled in a weekend watercolor class. I spent Sunday afternoons with old friends, including Ethan, who brought his daughter to the farmer's market sometimes, and who asked nothing of me except honest company. It was a small life, but it was entirely mine. One early autumn afternoon, I ran into Lena at a used bookstore in the city. After a few minutes of catching up, she leaned close and lowered her voice. "Have you heard anything about Marcus lately?" I shook my head. "Serena is looking for a divorce attorney. Word is Marcus cheated again, a new hire at the family firm. Serena found out 3 months ago but kept quiet for the child's sake. Lena showed me her phone, a screenshot from a message thread in a local preschool parent group. Their daughter started at a new school. Someone told the children that the little girl's mother had plastic surgery. The kids picked it up and started teasing her. She cried for a week. I stared at the message for a long moment. The little girl's face, which I had never seen, was suddenly vivid in my mind. A child who had done nothing wrong. A child already learning that the world could be unkind for reasons that had nothing to do with her. Serena apparently regrets having the baby, Lena added quietly. She thought the child would inherit what she'd become. She didn't expect her own past to look back at her from the crib. I said nothing. There was nothing left to say. Marcus and Serena had each built a life around a carefully constructed image, status, beauty, control. And in the end, what they could not hide was what showed up most clearly. The way they treated other people, and the truth they had worked so hard to bury. I walked home through the park that afternoon with a small croissant from the corner bakery, golden light falling across the grass in long, quiet patches. My life held no drama now. No reversals, no revelations. Just rhythm, just space. Just the quiet fullness I once believed I might never find. Sometimes, in the stillness of an ordinary evening, I think about those 8 years. The cold dinners, the unread messages, the slow disappearance of a marriage I kept trying to repair alone. I used to wonder what I could have done differently. I don't wonder anymore. I didn't lose that marriage. I was released from it. If anyone ever asks whether I've forgiven Marcus, I'll probably smile and say, I don't need to forgive anyone. I just need to keep living as myself. And for the first time in years, I can say that without any hesitation at all. Clara's story is a quiet reminder that appearances may deceive the world, but time always reveals the truth beneath them. When she was discarded for failing to be perfect, she didn't seek revenge or beg for closure. She simply walked away and rebuilt her life from the inside out. Those who lived inside their illusions were left to face the consequences those illusions created. While Clara found something no amount of reinvention can manufacture: freedom, peace, and herself. What do you think of Clara's choices, and the quiet unraveling of those who chose to live a lie? Share your thoughts in the comments, and follow the channel for more stories about the people who choose truth over performance.